Hello student. Today in this video we will be discussing about the Six Sigma quality. Here the sigma is basically the standard deviation, and you might have heard about the Six Sigma whenever we talk about the quality. So now let's see what are the objectives of today's class. We will be defining the total quality management, what is TQM, in terms of operation management. We will also talk on the quality specifications and how it is related to the cost. What is the relation between the quality and the cost? What are the Six Sigma quality tools, and what is Six Sigma? Then external benchmarking, we'll be learning ISO 9000. What is ISO 9000? Service quality measurement. So let's go ahead and try to satisfy all the objectives of today's class. So first we would like to understand or define TQM. So now you can see the definition given here. Total quality management is defined as managing the entire organization so that it excels on all dimensions of products and services that are important to the customers. Here you are supposed to understand that here we are talking about the totality in the organization. It is not only the quality of the product, but the quality of the product can be improved when all departments of the organizations is focusing on the quality processes. That means all departments of the company, right from management, top management, four core areas: production, finance, HR, and marketing. They all are delivering the quality whenever it comes to their main process of doing the job. Now let's talk about some of the quality specifications. Design quality, inherent value of the product in the marketplace. It is very specific. Here we are only talking about the quality in the design. So the dimensions of the design quality includes the performance of the product, what for you have made the product, what is the main function or the which this product will satisfy, and how it will help the buyer or the customer by fulfilling any of his need. Then comes the features. The features of the product should be as per the requirement or the desire of the customer. Then reliability, which is very important, and reliability means the product should be reliable enough when the company gives the guarantee that this product will help you in a particular way, then it has to keep the promise by being reliable every time, performing better every time. It should be durable. Durability here means if you say that the life of your product is for 5 years, then it should at least work for 5 years. Serviceability, if anything happens or any breakdown is there in the product or machine, then it should be serviceable, it should be repaired. Aesthetics and perceived quality. Here the important part is the perceived quality. Sometimes company says that we are producing the quality product, but if it is not matching with the price or the claims of the company, that because then what happens, there will be a gap between the perceived quality and the actual quality of the customer, due to which we say that the customers were perceiving higher quality and it is not up according to their level of satisfaction. So this is how we can talk about the design quality. In design, all these things must be considered by the people working in the designing of the product, and then only the product will be sellable and you can compete in the market. Conformance quality, it is degree to which the product or service design specifications are met. Now, designing part is different. Some design engineers have designed the product, but when it comes to the production of that product, it should not vary from the actual design. The degree of conformance quality should be 100%. If it varies from that, then the company has to look back and see how can they produce the product according to the design quality. So all service design specifications should be met when you are manufacturing a product. Now let's talk about the cost of quality. So we will look at all the dimensions of cost and quality. External failure cost, there is a cost of external failure. Appraisal cost, whenever we appraise the product, there will always a cost of appraisal. Prevention cost, when we there will always be a prevention cost in this, and internal failure cost. These are the 4 dimensions which we must keep in mind, because it has a certain cost and it affects to the quality of the product. Now let's talk about the Six Sigma quality. A philosophy and set of methods companies use to eliminate defects in their products and processes. Six Sigma quality is a philosophy, and there are certain set of methods companies use to eliminate defects in their products and processes. So it is a continuous process. Then only we can achieve the Six Sigma quality, and it comes after a hard work by each and every individual associated with the organization or belonging to the company. If they keep on improving their processes, then only they'll be able to eliminate various defects in their products by improving the processes. So friends, Six Sigma quality is not a one-time assignment. It is a continuous improvement assignment. So once we have improved on a particular specification of the product which we are producing, then we should also look back and try to improve it further. It also comes when the marketing people who are in direct contact with the customers, they should also think about their processes of selling the product. If they can improve and help the customers by making it easy to purchase the product, then it is actually supporting to the Six Sigma quality also. Seeks to reduce variations in the processes that lead to product defect. So it is all about reducing the variation in the processes. We have already learned it in the previous classes that in the process analysis we try to improve the process and try to remove all the bottlenecks from the system so that the productivity with the quality can be improved, and we should keep on improving and try to remove the defects in the product and in the processes. Six Sigma allows managers to readily describe processes performance using a common metric, defects per million opportunities. So this is how we try to calculate the defects per million opportunities. Here you can see the formula: number of defects into 1 million divided by number of opportunities for errors per unit into number of units. So this is the formula for calculating the defects per million opportunities. So you can use this formula whenever you are required to determine the DPMO, and you can see how many defects are there in the product and what are the opportunities for error per unit and the total number of units produced, and when it is multiplied with 1 million, it becomes the defects per million opportunities. Example of defects per million opportunities calculation. Suppose we observe 200 letters delivered incorrectly to the wrong addresses in a small city during a single day when a total of 200,000 letters were delivered. What is the DPMO in this situation? So basically, what is the situation? Situation is a company is distributing 2 lakh letters in a day, and at the end of the day we observed that out of these 2 lakh letters, 200 are delivered incorrectly or wrongly delivered or delivered at the wrong addresses. Then in this situation we should try to calculate DPMO. So the formula here is, as you have learned this in this like number of defects, how many defects are there in the present problem? There are 200 defects, right? And how many letters you have delivered? 2 lakh letters. So now you can see here. So the total number of defects are 200. The opportunities or of making error is single, because a letter has to go to a particular person. If it does not go to him, then there will be an defect. So 1 into 2 lakh into 1 million or 10 lakh. So when we do it, DPMO is 1000. So for every 1 million letters delivered, this city's postal managers can expect to have 1000 incorrectly sent to the wrong address. So now we have standardized this because it is defects per million. So in 1 million, how many defects are there? There are 1000 letters which will be delivered wrongly. So cost of quality, what might that DPMO mean in terms of overtime employment to correct the errors? So now here we must look at the cost of quality. So there was a cost which was charged from the customer when we calculated that every product or every letter will be delivered correctly in one time, and it is not done. So what will happen? Now you will try to send these letters correctly again, and for this you will be requiring extra workforce, or you will be asking your workforce or the delivery boys or people to work overtime and deliver them correctly. That is the total cost of improving the process. So here you can understand that the cost is included if any mistake or any defect is there. Now let's talk about the DMAC cycle. Define, measure, analyze, improve and control. So in this way you can make it a DMAC. D for define, M for measure, A for analyze, I for improve and C for control. Developed by General Electric as means of focusing effort on quality using a methodological approach. It is developed by General Electric, GE. Overall focus of the methodology is to understand and achieve what the customer wants. A Six Sigma program seeks to reduce the variation in the processes that lead to these defects. So here overall focus of DMAC is on the to understand and achieve what the customer wants, because anything given to the customer which is not matching with the wants of the customer is a defect. A Six Sigma program seeks to reduce the variations. So if there is no variation in the system, that means the product is delivered as per the specifications or the product is defect free. DMAC consists of 5 steps. Step 1, define. Step customers and their priorities. Here you are supposed to define the customers and what are their priorities. Then measure process and its performance. We have to keep on measuring the process performance, and if there is any deviation, then we have to look back and improve the process so that there is no deviation or the product is produced as per the quality specifications. Then analyze causes of defects. Now after measuring, if we found that the process and its performance is deviating, then we must look back and analyze what are the causes of defects. why it happened, why the defects have come, who is responsible for this, where have we made mistake. So then we will be able to know the causes of defects. Then improve. Improvement is by removing the causes of defects. If the defects are removed from the process or from the raw material or from any of the specification, specific material used or the process used, then we have improved this. And fifth and final is the control. So maintain the quality. So after knowing the causes, we have removed all those causes, but we cannot leave it on its means believing that everything will be fine in future. We have to keep on looking on the quality, and we are supposed to keep a close watch so that the quality can be managed. Now let's take this example. We are the maker of this cereal. Consumer Reports has just published an article that shows that we frequently have less than 16 ounces of cereal in a box. Right? That is the specification, that what is the weight of that box. What is the critical now what should we do? So what is the problem here? The problem is our box is containing 16 ounces less than what we claim to be in it. Then what should we do? That is the problem. Step 1. Define what is the critical to quality characteristic. What is basically the critical to quality characteristic? The critical to quality characteristic in this case is the weight of the cereal in the box. We are not considering here any other specification because everything is fine. Quality of the material in the box or cereal in the box is okay, but the deviation is in the weight, so it will be counted as the defect. So if there is any defect or deviation in the weight, we must look into it and we should try to improve this. Measure. How would we measure to evaluate the extent of the problem, and what are acceptable limits on this measure? So now we have to measure it. See, we have find that what is the critical to quality, and the critical to quality is weight of the cereal in the box. Right? So now when we go for measuring it, then first how would we measure to evaluate the extent of the problem, and what are acceptable limits on this measure? Basically, we should try to understand these two problems or questions. We should try to answer these questions. So let's assume that the government says that we must be within plus minus 5% of the weight advertised on the box. So upper tolerance limit is equals to 16 plus 5% of this 0.05 of 16. So 16.8 ounces. That is the upper tolerance limit. Lower tolerance limit is 16 minus 0.05 of 16 is equals to 15.2 ounces. So now this becomes the two limits for us within which if the weight is there, then there is no issue, because we believe that plus minus 5% of the weight, whatever we have claimed or advertised, is okay by the government rules. Now, after knowing these rules, we'll go out and buy 1000 boxes of cereal and find that they weight an average of, means now what we need to do, we should go into the market and try to buy 1000 boxes, maybe more, maybe less, because ultimately we have to use the statistic to determine whether the claim done by the customer is correct or wrong. So we found that the weight an average of 15.875 ounces with a standard deviation of 0.529 ounces. Now we have calculated, after collecting the data and calculating the mean weight and the standard deviation, we found these two figures 15.875 excuse me. So now using these two numbers, we'll try to analyze. So what percentage of boxes are outside the tolerance limit? We must look back. So by plotting these two limits, upper control and lower control, and determining Z value for this, so less than 15.2 is not a quality, more than 16.8 is also not a quality. Determine the Z value, which is minus 1.276, and normal distribution for this is 0.100978. So approximately 10% of boxes have less than 15.2 ounces of cereal in them. So here, friends, we have used the Z table for determining this value 0.100978. If you see the table at the back of any statistical book and see the normal distribution table, in which this value 1.276 will give you 0.100978 value. So when we multiply with this by 100, you'll get 10% of the boxes have less than 15.2 ounces of cereal in them. Now analyze, how can we improve the capability of our cereal box filling process? Now first is, we should try to decrease the variation. We must have a better machine at the point where the boxes are filled, center process, and increase some specifications, so the people working in filling the box or the machine used for filling the box must be improved. We are supposed to improve the accuracy of the machine, or asking if it is a labor incentive work, then we can ask the labor to be more careful while filling the cereal into the box, or the weighing machine should be more accurate. Now how will you improve this? How good is good enough? Right? How good is good enough? Six sigma minimum from process center to nearest SPC. So here you can see there are two things explained, 12 sigma and 6 sigma. So we'll be working on 6 sigma. Motorola's 6 sigma implies now Let's come to statistical process control, SPC. Use data from the actual process, estimate distribution, look at capability, is good quality possible, statistically monitor the process over time. Analytical tool for Six Sigma and continuous improvement flowchart is here. Material received from supplier, inspect material for defects, defect found. If no defect found, then it's okay. If defect found, if it is yes, then return to supplier for credit. Can be used to find quality problem. This can be used for quality problem. This is also called the statistical charts. So we can plot the run chart here. Can be used to identify when equipment or process are not behaving according to specification. We have learned all these charts in the SQC chapter, statistical quality control chapter, and the videos are already uploaded on SQC, so you can learn all these things over there. Analytical tools for Six Sigma and continuous improvement Pareto analysis is here. Design is this, and accordingly you can keep on having a watch. After training, you can improve it further. Can be used to find when 80% of the problems may be attributed to 20% of causes. Analytical tool for Six Sigma and continuous improvement. Here, billing errors, wrong account, wrong amount. Then the you can improve this. Keep on having a means number of times you made wrong account or wrong amount, and then we should keep on improving it. This can be used to keep track of defects or used to make sure people collect data in the correct manner. And this is the analytical tool for Six Sigma and continuous improvement, that is called histogram. We can plot histograms and see if the defects are improving or not. This can be used to identify the frequency of quality defects occurrence and display quality performance. Possible causes: machine, environment and method, man and material. These are the possible causes. When there is any defect, we must look back and see machine and method, and man and material, and the environment also. And then we can see the effect. Can be used to systematically track backward to find a possible cause of quality problem or effect. Look back. Again, it is upper control limit and lower control limit shown, and this type of graphs can also be used. You can see here. Then all the red points are within the upper control limit and LCL. So we believe that the process is under control. Failure mode and effect analysis. So I hope that we will be stopping this here, and the next video will be uploaded on this later on.